Welcome to Bite Size Spotlight. Today I'm going to talk about the advantages of buying a pre-owned MacBook. So I wanted to talk a little bit about buying a pre-owned MacBook versus buying a new one. I'm actually a big proponent of buying a pre-owned version. You can really save a lot of money and get a lot of value versus buying a new one. While there's certainly advantages to getting a new one, the amount you can save getting a pre-owned MacBook certainly make it worthwhile. So I picked this up off eBay. This is a late 2014 13-inch MacBook Pro. And I just wanted to talk about the specs of this model versus a new one and the price difference and some of the benefits of why you might want to buy a used MacBook. So again, this is a 13-inch screen. This is the Retina display, which is 2560 by 1600 resolution, exactly the same as the new models. This came preloaded with El Capitan version 10.11. It's got a 2.6 gigahertz Core i5 Intel processor. It's got 128 gigabyte solid state hard drive. You got the Intel Iris graphics card. Now, if you're picking up a brand new 13-inch MacBook Pro, the specs actually aren't dramatically different. First of all, the design, as I mentioned, is almost identical. Now, the new one does have the 7th generation Intel chip, so that's an advantage. It'll come preloaded with the latest operating system, Sierra 10.12, which now lets you use Siri from your iPad or iPhone to control your MacBook Pro. And they come with the new Intel Iris Plus graphics card. But that being said, all the specs are pretty much identical. And a new 13-inch MacBook Pro is going to come in at $1,300 plus tax. Now this little baby came in at only $650, free shipping, no tax. So we're talking about a significant savings, more than half. Now another thing to note, the 13-inch model actually doesn't have the touch bar, new or used. So if that's something you're into and you're buying the larger model, you'd have a more difficult time getting a used version. Now another thing I like to do when I order a used laptop is to look at the system information to make sure that the specs match up with the sale description. So here we could see 2.6 gigahertz Intel i5, 8 gig of DDR3 RAM. You got the Intel Iris. Another cool thing to look at is in the system report. If you go to the power, you can see how many battery cycles you've had. So here we've had 206 cycle count, which is relatively good for a used unit. Now I also like to inspect the unit just to see that the condition matches the photos that were in the sale description. So you may be able to see there's a couple dings and scratches, but it really matches up with what was in the sale description. And to be honest, if you're in class or in a business meeting, nobody would know that this is a used versus a new laptop. Now here's some helpful tips when you're buying off of eBay to make sure that you're going to get a good value for your money. Now another thing to look at is how many ratings the seller has. And if they do have bad ratings, why? Now, I typically don't like to buy from someone who's under 98% on eBay, but a lot of people won't even buy if they're under 99% or even 100. I don't recommend being that strict with it because you can buy from someone with a 98% ranking and usually get a pretty good discount, so long as you don't see anything really bad in the negative ratings or that they've screwed anyone over. Now in the listings themselves, you want to look at a few things. One, the year of the product. So be careful, some resellers get a little slick where they act like it's in new refurbished condition, but it might be an older model like a 2011 or a 2012. Another thing, as I showed earlier, is battery cycles. So you don't want one that's been through a tremendous amount of cycles. A typical Mac battery will last around 1,000 cycles. You want to take a really close look at the specs. Some sellers will put up very generic type information. So you really want to read their description and look at the specifications to make sure it matches what you want to do. In particular, the hard drive to make sure it has the storage you need, and also the RAM, which is really hard to upgrade on a MacBook. You want to take a look at the photos, make sure they have detailed photos of all sides. Usually the photography is the hallmark of a good seller. Be sure to ask questions from the seller if anything is unclear. And my most important piece of advice, don't get into a bidding war. It's really easy to get caught up in the excitement and try to win the item at the end, but there's a ton of great MacBooks on eBay. There's really no reason to get into that. Sometimes you can actually do better with the buy it now feature or just simply making an offer. In fact, the model I bought here was bought through the buy it now feature. So I hope you find this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you've scored any great items off of eBay, and I'd be happy to share some of the other cool items I bought. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.